Hello everyone, this is Kerry Varnum, and this is Editing with the Pros. I'm going to show you how I take this image right here to this. Okay, so first off, I think that this image was taken when the sun was setting. The shadows here indicate that the sun was pretty low in the sky. There's a lot of color cast on her skin and the white balance is off, so I am going to do a clean edit on this, try to neutralize the white balance and get rid of those color casts. So first thing I do is create curves. Get my color sampler tool here, and I'm going to check exposure. So I'm going to pull up my info palette, click on this little thing here, and I'm going to find a mid-tone area. Let's see here. From there, and bring up exposure. Alright, let's look at the numbers here. Okay, I'm going to label this exposure. I'm going to do another exposure layer because right around her eyes are in the shadows, so I'm going to try to bump that up a little more. Grab this tool, go over here and lift those shadows up. Now I'm going to Command I to invert that, and then I'm going to use my brush tool by hitting B, lower the opacity of that to about 25. Press X to switch over to the white, so I'm painting back on, and then I'm going to paint over the eyes, the shadows in the eyes, just to brighten that up a bit. Okay. Computer's really slow right now. All right. So that helps out a bit. I will attack that area again in a minute, but I'm going to do the white balance now. So yeah, grab my color sampler tool and I'll drop, see, right around there. Click this eyedropper tool, go to CMYK color to get my reading. If my cyan is at 11, I shoot for the yellows to be 33 plus, around that number. So click on this tool here, click on the point, and whoops, I'm going to switch to the blue. And we're going to drag that up. Now you can see that the magenta is way too high, so we'll adjust that. Again, click here and drag that up. Or you can simply press the arrow tool to move the cursor. So what I did was, because there's a lot of different color casts in this image, I kind of took each section on its own, created different curves levels for that. I'm not going to go through everything that I did because it did take me quite some time. So what I'm going to do is get rid of this cursor, and I'm just going to delete this layer oops, and make this active. So that brings me to that. Now what I'm going to do is attack the color cast. Jeez. Sorry, my computer is driving me nuts right now. Okay. So you can see here right around her eye, there's some red stuff on her, yellow stuff rather, on her skin. So I'll show you how I do that. So I will create a new curves level, take my color sampler tool. I know that there's way too much yellow, that's pretty obvious. So I'm going to reduce that yellow. And I'm just going to move that up until I feel like it has gotten rid of some of that yellow. And as you can see, it makes everything weird, but I'm going to Command I to invert that, get my brush tool, and then I'm going to paint that onto this area. And over here too. You want to use a brush set at low opacity because otherwise the effect is way too strong and it's pretty hard to blend in. I'm not going to spend a ton of time at perfecting this because it does take some time, but you guys can get the idea. Then I'm going to, because her eyes are in the shadows, I want to brighten up those eyes. So what I do is I have an action for eye sparkle. It's basically just a levels layer that bumps the exposure, and then I have a sharpening layer as well. I'm going to Command I that. I'm going to take my brush, I'll change the opacity to about 100 because I can always reduce the effect if I want to. And then I'm just going to brush that on. Sharpen the eyes. What I also did was I created a blank layer, and then I took the eyedropper tool and, okay, come on. And I clicked and color sampled her skin by that shadow, the brush again, and again at very low opacity. And I just, oops. What is this doing here? Maybe that's too much. Alright. And just slightly. There's another color cast that I could address. And if I feel like that's too much, you could always lower the opacity here. But it just brightens that area up a little bit. And then, finally, I just, oops. Sorry guys, I don't know why my computer is being so annoying. Alright, stay. Okay. So now I'm going to create another layer. I'm going to choose multiply. That's going to darken everything up. And then I'm going to just lower the opacity. I like how what it does to the sky in the background and the trees, but obviously not on her. It makes her too dark, and we just fixed the exposure, so we don't want to darken her. So I'm going to paint that off her skin. And I'm usually using too strong of a brush. I would usually just do maybe 50, but I don't want to make this video way too long. Do her legs. I'm doing a terrible job here, but you get the point. And that's about it. I'll show you the final one again, and that's that. So originally started here and went to that. Thanks very much, guys. Bye.